Welcome back to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network. We're talking about cloud optimization and data center strategies. Beth just highlighted some awesome priorities. We're going to go to you, Nick, and give us your top priority at Snowflake.
Thanks, Luke. We've probably got dozens, but my biggest one by far, and I think I've said it on your program before, is building out the data cloud for government. Snowflake has made its name being a great data platform for machine learning, artificial intelligence, all of the things you would expect that the cloud brings in value. But our largest value, I think, by far, is the ability to collaborate on data. I'll go back really quickly. We were talking about Navy data from Rob. If you've got naval data on F-35 platforms and how it's been flown and how it's been maintained, giving that same information to the Air Force or collaborating with the U.S. Air Force on that, or the Marine Corps, enables every service branch to take their maintenance of the F-35 and learn lessons from each other in ways that we could never do before. And the cloud enables that specifically. And Snowflake does that very, very well. It's our data marketplace, private exchanges, and direct sharing make it as easy as going onto the App Store and grabbing Angry Birds, only it's a lot more relevant to our federal work. Right. So that's really my goal, is to take the data cloud out there and get folks collaborating, like DHS is setting the example today with some of their mission partners. We hope to keep expanding that over time.
Very good goal, very good focus. Devarius, top priority at U.S. Army Corps of Engineers.
Yeah, so our top priority is really digital transformation. Digital transformation to support more so modernization as well as readiness within the Army, being that the Army Corps of Engineers is a support organization. And when you look at digital transformation, we break digital transformation into several areas. We look at it in the form of OT, operational technology. We also look at it in the form of mobility, because the majority of the Corps of Engineer users, about 70% of them, do not work inside of an office space. They're at more of a construction site. They're at a levee, lock, dam, waterways, more of the natural aspects of things to include disaster relief. And then we begin to look at certain things such as 5G connectivity, as well as some of the cybersecurity concepts and practices that are out there as well. So digital transformation in totality is really what we're beginning to put a heavy emphasis on, but not just the remainder of this fiscal year, but also as we look to forward lean into the next fiscal year.
Doubling down on that digital transformation, I think that's fantastic. Chris, how about at Quest? What do you have the team focused on this year?
The number one mantra, quite frankly, after the last couple of years, unexpectedly, is more security. You cannot have enough. I talked earlier about IT networks being very porous. So our focus has been, quite frankly, is one, acquiring assets that really strengthen our portfolio around zero trust. If you look at the zero trust architecture, quite frankly, there is no one silver bullet. Everyone keeps asking me, it's like, where's your zero trust SKU? Does not exist. There is a lot of thought that has to go behind exactly how you deploy that architecture. So when you think about protecting everything from end users, the nodes they use, the data they access, for instance, that entire perimeter has extended beyond that walled garden we used to love called the mainframe, really dating myself. But as we move further out, quite frankly, for instance, I considered doing this podcast, quite frankly, on my mobile phone as I walked around the lake this morning, but I figured the birds would be very distracting, quite frankly. But zero trust simply means that we were able to protect not just endpoints, the nodes, the data, quite frankly, but regardless of what device they're actually using and where they are. So our assets, quite frankly, and our portfolio is focused around giving our customers the ability to, one, yes, manage that existing sort of security apparatus, whether it's directory-based, for instance, file-based, but also now, how do we now protect the keys to the kingdom? So as we learned in the Kaseya attack, if you lose control of a domain admin account or a remote administrator account, for instance, things get very bad very quickly. So providing privileged access management, and not just access management, but then also, how do you now also understand what they're doing in that session with those access credentials? So we have access that focus around that. And then also, how do you do the event management and correlation so you can alert a CISO exactly what's going on with a particular end user? I think to trust your environment, I think zero trust is part of the wording or the naming nomenclature. It confuses folk. It doesn't mean we don't trust anybody. It just means we trust you to do a specific thing for a specific period of time, and then the party is over. So a lot of our solutions now enable our customers to do just that. For instance, focus on delivering zero trust, delivering the right access at the right time to the right individual, for instance, and then be able to provide governance around everything we're doing around security. So as that perimeter moves, we can actually respond to and deliver security for a mission, regardless of the agency and regardless of the size or scale where they are in the world.
Right. Trust but verify. Thomas, how about a GSA? You're sort of sitting across the top there, a lot of different activities. What are you going to be measuring? What's the focus at GSA to push the ball forward for the entire interagency?
Thanks, Luke. You know, on April 6th and 7th, we're going to be holding a data center sustainability summit, Office of Government-Wide Policy is. This is going to be in support of the President's management agenda on sustainability. And the summit will explore the environment and modernization benefits of transitioning from government-owned data centers to commercially owned data centers, cloud computing, or even software as a service. All of them have benefits there. One of the feature role of the summit is to have two roundtables, one from former government leaders and industry on the future of DCOI metrics. I think it would be really insightful on how the federal government should be measuring data centers going forward beyond 2022. I'm proud and happy to announce that we joined forces with Information Technology Industry Council. Is co-hosting the event along with the CIO Council's Innovation and EOPS committees, are sponsors as well. And there's going to be a lot of government speakers and industry, the big CSPs, large data center providers, technology companies will all be there. And it'll kick off a host of events that GSA is doing around Earth Day, April 22nd. Everyone's invited to attend. Please join me on April 6th and 7th.
Sounds fantastic. Looking forward to that. Rob, top priority at Cloudera.
So thanks, Luke. So our top priority is really to help the agencies. I'm gonna copy Beth a little bit here, but I already wrote my notes down, Beth, so that's the way it is. We're really trying to help the agencies use data to accelerate their mission, right? That's the number one thing. We're not helping government agencies operate better, more efficiently, more effectively than we're not doing our job right? So at the end of the day, you know, moving from data strategy to an operational outcome, right, is really important. It could intersect the cloud, it could intersect the data center, it could intersect, I love it, the tech closet, right? But at the same time, the outcome's the most important thing to keep our eye on. The second thing that I'm interested in doing this year, I got to focus on, is enhancing cybersecurity effectiveness. Cyber is a big data problem. It just is. So I've watched this for now almost 20 years and materially haven't done anything different, right? We've done the same thing we've done for 20 years and it's not going as well as we'd like. I have not seen an agency yet bragging about how they defeated something right before it happened. So how do we change what we're doing in such a way that enables them to quietly brag about, hey, it's working better. This is working better. So the integration of big data platforms into the cybersecurity stack, I think, is something that the government needs to keep an eye out for, because what the edge is producing, and we're into continuous monitoring now, but what the edge is producing has the keys to the kingdom in it about what's happening. If we can sift through that quicker, better, faster, we're going to be in a much more secure place, enabling mission to move forward.
You and Beth made a good point. Speeds and feeds, data center, clouds, all important. The common denominator, of course, is the mission. Nicholas, we're going to start with you and talk about the future. If we fast forward a couple of years, what's it going to look like? What's the focus at Snowflake now in regards to hitting that target 2 years from now?
Well, I'll be super ambitious, Luke, because since I'm going first, I'll be the optimist. I think we're going to see a lot more cloud migrations happen. Obviously, we're going to see a lot more data centers shut down, but I also think we're going to see not just efficiency gains. Efficiency gains are fantastic. We love seeing that, but effectiveness gains are really where we want to get to, right? We want to see the data that the government has put to good use in a transparent way to make our lives better as citizens. And I think what Snowflake is doing, technologies like Quest software, our friends over at Cloudera, all of us are singularly focused on this one thing, right? Safe efficiency based on data-driven decision-making. And the cloud is what enables us to do that to a very large degree. So we're going to keep on pushing forward in that vein and look forward to the future there.
Thank you very much. Chris, how about at Quest? What's it look like in a couple of years?
I think as we get past the idea that we're going to be using someone else's computer, as we said earlier, quite frankly, or as I call it, an x86 in another zip code, we're going to get more and more efficient about how we now leverage the data that's going to be striped across all those different zones, as I think about it. It used to be that, as you know, Snowflake discovered that, you know what, people want data and they wanted access to it very fast in the cloud. Same thing with Cloudera. I also work with a lot of other database partners, for instance, Microsoft, Oracle, and others. At Quest, quite frankly, with a Swiss Army knife when it comes to data management. But what we're hearing more and more from our customers is that data management, and that's why you see the creation of the federal data strategy. You see CDOs now in most agencies, quite frankly. It's one, how do we now not just figure out where that data is, understand how to tag it, quite frankly, so we understand exactly where the critical data is. You know, if there is a loss, for instance, can we identify exactly what was leaked, for instance, in the data exfiltration model? But also now, how do we create a better citizen experience or end user experience, customer experience, based on what we've learned about that data? And so we're investing more and more in tools that help our customers not just identify that data, but then leverage that data and feed other data and operational pipelines so they can actually leverage that data to make more effective decisions, not just in government, for instance, but also across all the agencies that support our citizens, quite frankly, and enable them to basically do a much better job of utilizing that data for the public good. So we talked about, you know, DeVeris talked about the tarps, quite frankly, in a flood situation, the disaster zone. All that is data driven, for instance. And I think we take for granted how data moves across both hybrid infrastructure from those endpoints to edge computers up to the cloud, for instance. It's churned and it's sent back to a device where someone actually makes a decision. So we're investing more and more in technologies that help us understand that data and how to make it available in the most ready format, for instance, for the right user at the right time.
Serving that data up to have a much richer citizen experience is key. Rob, you guys you're in the private sector, you're in the public sector. What's the demand signal out there? What are you cooking up that we're going to see in a couple of years?
So the government today is in a hybrid multi-cloud environment, right? We have various flavors of almost everything. So to command and control data across that hybrid multi-cloud is where Cloudera is headed. So I actually think that the government will remain there in the next couple of years. It might change flavors here and there, but we'll be in a hybrid multi-cloud environment for the foreseeable future. The second thing is that I think, and I'm pressing hard to get AI and ML more commoditized, right? Today, you must be a data scientist. You're a pretty sharp and rare individual to be able to now use those high-end tools to help render those decisions, right? But to make those tools available for more people then unlocks data and then unlocks mission, right? And accelerates the agency's ability to deliver, whether it's citizen services or it's for DoD, for Army, what have you.
Great focus, and glad to hear that. Looking forward to it. Tom, when I'm thinking about GSA, I'm thinking about the various spectrums across this optimization initiative. What do you expect to see in a couple of years when you're out there sort of measuring the results, measuring the outcomes? What are you looking forward to seeing?
Well, I think going forward, we're going to continue to optimize data centers and bring in other policies such as sustainability into that fold. But, you know, really, IT is nothing but an ecosystem of both IT and policies. And I think we're going to continue, GSA is kind of meld those policies and administrative priorities such as cyber, climate, zero trust, and IPv6 into the fold. IT modernization is really nothing but interconnected web of priorities. And we want to keep those conversations going, lessons learned. We have a community of practice we want to share. We have 4,000 members of the federal workforce as members. And month to month, we have various topics. We share those success stories. If the vendors or agencies want to share something, have an agency come forward to me, and I'd love to share it with the community of practice. That's where really agencies get a firsthand chance of learning about what's going on in other agencies.
Yeah, that's super critical, right? You have a lot of information coming into GSA being reported, et cetera. You're seeing a lot, again, sitting in that catbird seat, having that shared across all the interagencies, lessons learned, et cetera, always super important to various. All right, 2 years from now, you're on your digital transformation journey. You got all your tech closets squared away. What do we expect to see in a couple of years? If I'm a new employee coming into U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, what's it look like?
Yeah, several years from now, we've really transformed how we do business, and we're actually starting this journey now. So when you think about it, when you think about a new employee, the first thing you think about is your onboarding experience.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, the onboarding experience is the first impression. The first impressions are always lasting impressions. And as a new employee, whether you're a new employee straight out of college or whether you're a seasoned professional that this is not your first go around, if you're onboarded horribly, the first thing you're going to say is, man, this must be how this organization is going to operate. So one of the things that we're beginning to do within the Corps of Engineers, we're transforming and modernize how you onboard as an employee. With that being said, we are evolving our readyship concept, meaning that a end user receives their device, has all the full software on it, it has all their files on it that they need. If it is a replacement, and you're already able to connect to the network with your standard cybersecurity software and everything already on it. What this does is this really allows us to reduce the storage warehouse concept that we might have. It also allows our users to be able to get on the network and start doing business the very first day they come on board, as soon as they can show you the certifications. Sometimes within government, it takes you a significant amount of time just to be issued a computer so you can start doing your job. Our goal, as we've been piloting now within the Corps of Engineers, we're transforming how you receive your devices as well as the time that it takes for a user to access that network. Within less than 24 hours, you actually have your device provisioned and ready to go. That device is sent from the service provider and it is in the hands of the end user versus it taking you 3 weeks just to get a device. So this is one of the ways we're beginning to look at the end user aspects of things. I think when you look at cloud, if we tie it back to this discussion as well, in the next 2 or 3 years, I think we'll be having a conversation from a government perspective on how we procure cloud services. Mm-hmm. Right now, as you know, we go through, it's about 3 hops. You have the government, you put in your request, it goes to a reseller, then from the reseller, it goes to what I call the big boys. However, having a direct pass through straight to the big boys optimizes and modernizes how we begin to do business. It assists, as well as I believe it enhances with auditability, it enhances with accountability as well. And then it also begins to allow us to transform our business as to how we enable and control that destiny. So I think the procurement aspect as to how we receive cloud services will begin to quickly change, because the concept of providing that from an end user as well as from a business perspective and a government perspective will begin to change, making it a lot more formidable for a lot of government entities that are looking at leveraging cloud without having to go through various hops. So a lot, I think, is going on in that space. We're really looking at the end user for modernization and transformation going forward within the Corps of Engineers. Thank you.
Great call out on that acquisition piece. Beth, you've moved mountains over there, right? You've slayed the data center migration, the cloud migration, the financial systems, the network. 2 years from now, what would you like to see as one looks around in that environment? What's the expectation at this point?
It's a great question, considering 2 years from now, I likely will have moved on from federal service. So I want to look back and say,
of course,
the situation, the environment I left behind is the foundation is strong, and that's the infrastructure piece. And we'll continue with network modernization, application rationalization, so that we do get to cloud native. Much of the work that I was directly involved in, a lot of it was lift and shift or some basic replatforming, but not necessarily cloud native. So we'll head in that direction and we'll begin to improve. There are agencies within DHS that have done just phenomenal work in cloud native development, and we want to, again, share those best practices and continue that work. But you know, it's people, processes, and technology. So we've got the foundation with the infrastructure. We've got the processes and the organizational structure with things like our Network Operations Security Center, our cybersecurity assessment programs, and our unified cybersecurity maturation model. But I think most importantly is the people part of this. And so 2 years from now, what I would like to see is a DHS IT workforce that reflects the community that we serve, which is the American public. And by reflects that, I mean things like demographics. We have a tremendous DEI initiative going on in the DHS IT community right now. And I'm particularly proud of the efforts that we're putting into our cybersecurity internship program, right? So that we can get at underserved communities and bring in real talent, broaden our pool. Because we all know that we compete for resources. All of us here on this phone, right on the show right now, we compete against each other for that cyber talent, for that data analytics talent, for all of these resources. So one of my primary goals before I leave out of DHS is to make sure that we have broadened our applicant pool to the greatest extent possible, and have really shown folks that DHS is a great place to work and you should come join us. So infrastructure, the people and the processes, these are things that are really critical to me in the twilight of my career here in federal service. And I certainly intend that when I leave, our population will reflect the population that we serve.
Fantastic. And what a great way to close out a storied career. Well, we could talk all day, but we don't have all day. But I would like to thank today's guests for taking the time out of their busy schedules to join us on this program. I'd like to thank the sponsors for supporting this show. And I'd like to thank the good people here at Federal News Network that make our program so successful and enjoyable. And most of all, I'd like to thank you, the listening audience that are tuning in every month. You're listening to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network.